Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Tom Spark. Welcome back to another video. As you guys might know, I'm the original creator of the first VPN tier list at vpntierlist.com. As far as I know, I was the first one to make a VPN tier list on YouTube, and I found the reason I could do that is because I've reviewed every single VPN. I've actually tested every single one and posted those my reviews on my channel. That doesn't mean you can't make a VPN tier list or that someone else on YouTube can't. It just means that they probably won't have the same kind of credibility and methodology to make said VPN tier list. And in fact, all my rankings are completely objective, and you can find all the different data and rankings available on my website, free for anyone to peruse. So guys, in today's video, we're going to be making an updated, just kind of visual tier list video, so you can check out my various rankings and thoughts on VPNs very quickly. Now guys, a quick word from some of my favorite products you might want to check out, privacy related, on the channel. Are you guys ever worried about getting doxxed? I know I am, and that's why I use a service like Incogni to make sure no one can find my IRL information if they find my name. A service like Incogni goes to all the available data brokers out there like white pages and these different websites. It will tell these websites to remove your information, and it saves you tons of time. Use my link in the description down below to get 50% off Incogni, as you see here on this website, to get this deal. This is my top rated data broker removal tool. It's around half the price of competing services like Delete Me, and it has a better interface to boot. Also, guys, if you're still dealing with the fallout from the horrible email platform called Skiff, maybe you're using Gmail and you want a more privacy-friendly alternative, consider checking out StartMail. I'll put a link in the description down below that should be able to get you 50% off. This is my preferred encrypted, privacy-friendly email provider. Some of the reasons is it's the easiest one to use. You have unlimited alias support. You even have, I think, one personal domain per account. So that is pretty cool. As you can see here, email address with StartMail domain or one custom domain. That is very nice. No ads, no tracking. Definitely a very solid service, and it's the one I recommend. It's my best one right now. All right, guys, back to the video. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get into the tier list itself. All right, so let's make myself out of the way as possible down here. Let's make my camera focus, and there we go, off to the races. All right, guys, so I'm going to be kind of doing the ratings maybe by just kind of whatever is here, I guess. So first up, we have AdGuard VPN. Now, this is kind of one of those VPNs. Every once in a while, I'll get kind of like a message that it's had some updates or something like that. I actually kind of like AdGuard's DNS. You know, a lot of these services that have these DNS services are pretty generous. They're pretty free to use, block ads and so forth, which is always a good thing. I actually like to put DNS services like that, ad blocking DNS, onto my router specifically, so my entire house has blocked ads on every device. Definitely a pretty cool little trick. But outside of that, its VPN is very kind of subpar, or just a little bit under mediocre. It's not that fully developed. It's not the worst one in the world. It does work, but it just is lacking features and compatibility and kind of competitive value compared to some of the other VPNs out that are fully fledged VPN products. Next up, we have something like AirVPN, and now AirVPN is another VPN I'm going to be putting in a C tier. That said, it is a better VPN, I would say, than AdGuard VPN at first glance. But even in my rankings, AdGuard does a little bit better than AirVPN. That's because AdGuard is a little bit more fully fleshed out in terms of being newer, easier to use. AirVPN is just one of those applications. The team behind it seems to refuse to do any development on this one. There's not even an iOS application, which is crazy to think. It's been in business for probably 10 or 12 or longer years. Still haven't made an iOS application. There's also been some kind of other kind of things coming out about it that I saw on Reddit that no one really seemed to talk about, saying like some servers were seized and they didn't really talk about it. Overall, I don't trust the company as much as I used to. However, that client is open source. It's very affordable. Speeds are okay. I just find that the application is very buggy, and overall its interface is very outdated. So next up, we have something like Azure VPN. I do believe this is the logo. Azure VPN is interesting because it's one of the few VPNs that does own its own server and network, but outside of that, its client is extremely bare bones. It's extremely simplistic and just not a very full-fledged VPN in most respects. Another VPN is CyberGhost. This is one of those VPNs that is a bigger company, but at the same time, I just haven't seen that development in the product offering, unlike some other VPNs we'll discuss in a bit. Next up, we have ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is going to go into B tier. This is another VPN like CyberGhost that's a huge company. However, they're actually owned by the same company. And just like CyberGhost, I find that ExpressVPN has kind of stagnated over the years. They haven't really done anything interesting with the product offering. Small updates here and there. But largely, if you look at the product now compared to around 6 or 7 years ago, you would be hard-pressed to find anything different. Even me, a VPN reviewer, it's hard to find things different about it. And that's my job. So a basic end consumer might say, you know what, development is really being put into this product, and well, not really that much, at least from what I've observed. Additionally, the team behind it, Cape, has kind of concerning instances on its kind of resume. It kind of fired a lot of employees. It's also not the most reputable company, having a former kind of different industry before they got into privacy. I think they're more related to advertising, internet advertising. So a lot of people kind of don't trust them for those reasons. Now, just like the other kind of products here on this list, IPVanish. I'm going to actually put this in D tier. I feel like it's gotten even less updates than CyberGhost and ExpressVPN, and largely the product just feels very stale. The speeds aren't very good. Strangely enough, it was one of the few products to implement an Apple TV app early on, but outside of that, I haven't seen anything notable from this VPN, and you don't really even see people talking about it anymore, which is sad because back in the day, it used to be an A-tier VPN. It had one of the best clients, best speeds, best application, very easy to use. But since then, they haven't barely done anything with it, and it's probably because it's been passed around. I don't want to say a rude analogy, but let's just say it's been passed around a lot, and nothing has really happened with it. Next up, we have something like iVPN, and iVPN actually probably does a little bit better than some of the other options I've been discussing. It actually is an okay VPN provider if we're talking about strictly from a privacy perspective. That said, I don't really have it ranked on my tier list right now due to the fact that the team is kind of annoying and toxic. Basically, what happened is that I was telling people, you know, there are some serious shortcomings with this product, and they were saying, hey, Tom doesn't review us fairly, or blah, 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 blah. But outside of that, at the end of the day, I review every product fairly, and just because you don't like my reviews doesn't mean you get to spread misinformation. I would say iVPN is somewhere along kind of the same ranking as these VPNs. It definitely has better privacy, better applications, but at the end of the day, it's just lacking a lot of cool things about it. It doesn't have streaming compatibility, Apple TV app, various other kind of things. It removes port forwarding too. It's very, very expensive for what you get, and just isn't really competitive with some of those other top VPNs out there. And in fact, if you're going to get something like iVPN, you might as well just get Mullvad, because Mullvad is a C-tier VPN too, but it's almost better in every way than iVPN. It's cheaper. It does pretty much the same things. Now, why is Mullvad ranked C when you see a lot of YouTubers shilling it, a lot of people on Reddit shilling it? Well, a lot of people like it because they do know advertising, at least traditional advertising on YouTube. That's not to say they don't do any billboards or something like that. They just don't really have any content creators who are partnered with them. I've never really talked to the team myself, so I can verify that. But at the same time, I just don't think it's that compelling of a product lately. And maybe never has been. And why is that? Well, it's because it's just lacking a lot of things that some other VPNs do offer. It doesn't have an Apple TV app. It doesn't work on block streaming services. The value isn't that good long term because it doesn't offer any competitive discounts long term for package deals. In fact, it doesn't have any package deals with any other product offerings. They've really kind of focused on VPN and haven't really done much else with it. They have some remote kind of integration with Tailscale, but nothing as complete as something like Nord Mesh, which we'll discuss shortly. Outside of that, I think it's kind of a stale VPN product. A lot of people like it because it is a good privacy-focused VPN provider. And in fact, you know, the website lets you kind of sign up without an email. It doesn't have much tracking on the website, so on and so on. They don't really track any of their customers to optimize sales. But I do also think that's kind of reflected in the state of the VPN itself. It's just kind of stale, not really much happening with it, at least from what I've observed. They made a big push about like, oh, we have quantum encryption resistant VPN tunnels. But if you look up, you know, when quantum encryption could be decrypted, maybe 15 years later. So if you're paying $5 a month for something that's not going to be useful in 15 years, well, I guess that's up to you to decide if that's worth it. Next up, we have NordVPN. Now, NordVPN is going to be S tier. Now, a lot of people might say, hey, why did you rank Mullvad low when you rank NordVPN high? Now, NordVPN, it does have kind of a bad rap in some spaces. It did a lot of advertising, but at the same time, this advertising allowed them to pretty much dominate the entire VPN marketplace. If you look up VPN, if you just look up the term VPN, who do you think is going to come up first? Let's go to something like Start Page, which isn't going to have any cookies or anything like that. We're just going to look up, no wait, whoops, I actually just typed that. So we're just going to look up VPN. Look at the first results here. All sponsored. So we have Brave Firewall. That also could be sponsored. But then we have NordVPN right there at the top. And they have become a huge company. They're worth like $3 or $4 billion by now. So a lot of people saying, hey, I don't like all the ads they do on YouTubers. Well, that's kind of not really reflective of the product. You have to kind of think about it, the product itself, not because you don't like the type of advertising it does. What did this allow NordVPN to do? Well, it very smartly kind of captured the YouTube audience, was able to generate tons and tons of traffic and become the biggest VPN. What did it do with all this money? Well, it just dumped it in probably development, marketing, and all sorts of other things that VPNs need to become a successful company. And that is what more than any other VPN probably NordVPN has done. It's got really good features nowadays. Probably the biggest service network with the best speeds. I've tested it multiple times this year. 111 different countries supported. Has Nord Mesh integration, which is actually free to use. You don't even need a NordVPN account, which means you can share access to your network with friends to play video games. You can transfer files back from devices. You can even remote into your home network to watch your media server while you're at a hotel. Very cool features. It also works with any streaming service, basically. They have a password manager that's actually pretty good. Lots of extra peripherals you can bundle in, and you can even get incognito with Nord if you do want to. But that said, we could talk about other VPNs too in this video, of course, but I just wanted to explain my reasoning for putting Nord first. All right, guys. So next up, we have something like Perfect Privacy. This is a VPN I kind of like to use back in the day. I actually don't even have it currently rated on my tier list just because it's hardly gotten any updates and no one really talks about it anymore. I would honestly probably put it somewhere around C tier, just a VPN that really hasn't seen that many updates. Nothing really that special or unique about it, despite the fact it's kind of a little bit more of a privacy focused product. Now we have private internet access as well. This is actually also going to be an S tier, but not really that close to NordVPN. I would say the gap is more like over here, although I can't really do this on the tier list. It's around 10 points away from Nord, but that just kind of goes to show you the gap between S and A tier, at least in my tier list rankings. Why does private internet access get so high? Well, it's always had a best application, pretty much. It's a really good application. Although lately it's been buggy for me. I can't get WireGuard to work, but I've heard other people don't have that same issue. It's pretty affordable. It works for streaming. It's probably the best Cape product. It is actually the same company as Express and CyberGhost and stuff like that. I would say it's probably better than all those other ones. It's very, very shielded by Linus Tech Tips. The questionable history of the company, sure. But outside of the end of the day, this is an objective tier list, and as an aggregate, it just scores way higher than these other ones. It's cheaper, has better features, and so on. Next up, we could talk about Proton. Proton is also going to be an S tier VPN. This is a VPN that's climbed up my rankings, same way that Nord has. It's gotten very big. It's probably maybe the 4th or 5th biggest VPN out there. It's got a lot of product offerings. If you want email, drive support, document support they just released. It's one of those ecosystem-based VPNs where they made Proton Mail, went into Proton VPN, and it kind of slowly started to build out some of the other offerings, which worked out well for them, and they've built a good customer base doing so. Why is it ranked a little bit lower than Nord? Well, it is a little bit more expensive. It doesn't have quite as big of a server network. It's not quite as fast. Some of the features with NordVPN I like a little bit more than Proton, like the mesh networking and stuff like that. I feel like Nord has focused a little bit more on its VPN, and Proton has focused a little bit more on Proton Mail and some of the other offerings compared to Proton VPN. That said, it is still a very good VPN. Also, guys, I'm going to be putting links for all these VPNs in the description down below. Probably just S tier because it'd be like 30 or 40 links, or maybe like more of like 15. Keep in mind, my S tier ranked VPNs are all affiliates of mine. I have affiliate links for those. They'll be in the description down below. Click on those if you want to help support this video with these objective reviews. If not, then you don't have to. It's really up to you. Next up, we have this VPN called RiseUp This is a VPN that's free. It doesn't really work. A YouTuber called Techlore really likes this one, but I don't think he's ever used it, just like half these VPNs. Next up, we have a VPN called Surfshark VPN. Now, Surfshark VPN, just to be transparent, is a VPN that's owned by the same company as NordVPN. I actually like its application a little bit better than NordVPN. It is ranked just 2 points under though, just because the server network's a little smaller, and a couple other features like NordVPN has over Surfshark, like the SOCKS 5 proxy integration, which is very good for torrenting and various other things, but it's still a very good VPN and very solid as well. I actually like Surfshark's bundled offering a little bit better than NordVPN. If you're looking for something called Incogni, it's a data broker removal tool which will help you remove information from various websites around the world, like that host your real life information. If you search for that, this will help you remove your information from those websites. It's one of my favorite tools, and you probably saw it in that some of my favorite privacy products I mentioned in the beginning of the video. If you want to help support the channel, and check those out. Next up, we have TorGuard. TorGuard is ranked just behind NordVPN. TorGuard is an excellent product, very cheap, very affordable. They're one of those VPNs that in some ways I feel like is stuck in the past a little bit, for good and bad. For good, the prices have never changed. I'm serious, they've never changed. I'm pretty sure that you could buy a Big Mac, you could probably buy one chicken nugget, and it's more expensive than TorGuard. I don't know what that says about the health of the company in terms of its margins, because I think having a company be healthy and charge a fair price for a product is important, and I think TorGuard kind of undersells themselves a little bit there. But that said, if you don't care about that, if you just want the cheapest VPN with good speeds, reputable company, TorGuard is the one to go for still. It's a very solid product. I think it's slipped behind Nord and some of the other S-tier products in some ways in terms of development. For example, some people are upset it doesn't have an Apple TV application. Its streaming compatibility is just weaker since it provides streaming IPs that you have to pay extra for, although aren't really that expensive with it. But it does lessen the amount of streaming locations you can get to. Also, it's just a little bit clunky to use sometimes with certain things. I've been having a bug on my computer where I have to use WireGuard, not the actual application for TorGuard. I couldn't get it fixed, but I haven't really seen too many people complaining about issues like that. The mobile applications, in my opinion, work much better. I just kind of wish TorGuard was evolving a little bit more, came up with a little bit more interesting products like Surfshark does or Nord. It just kind of seems kind of stuck a little bit, and that's just kind of my thoughts right now on it. Next up, we have something like TunnelBear. Now, TunnelBear is one of those VPNs that just kind of pops up once in a while, like a bear popping up out of a tunnel. But I really haven't heard too much about it in terms of development. It's another VPN kind of like something like Express or CyberGhost that really hasn't really done too much for a long time. Viper VPN is a, well, actually, once again, my tier list, I kind of messed it up a little bit. We're going to put Viper VPN right above Express. On my tier list, I don't actually have an A tier or an S tier. It just goes like this. That's why there's that huge gap. So just to fix that really quickly, sorry about that, guys. But we have Viper VPN right above Express. It's a pretty good product. Hasn't really done anything for a long time, but still pretty solid. Good application. I really like the way it looks. Now we have Windscribe. Windscribe is another VPN that I've kind of had issues with personally in terms of its ratings and stuff like that. Go into their community, search Tom Spark, and you'll probably find at least 10 years of people just talking shit about me every day. The community is kind of like if you went into a middle school, collected up like 30 middle school kids, and forced them to stay in one room for 10 or 12 years. That's kind of what their Discord feels like. So yeah, watch out for that. But outside of that, the core product is decent, but there have been some security issues. A hacker this year said their code is very sloppy. The team itself is very elitist and kind of honestly kind of crazy in my opinion. But at the end of the day, the product is decent. Right now, where is it ranked on my tier list? At least in terms of the actual score itself. It's going to be right around here. So there you go. I honestly kind of wish this team was a little bit more professional, a little bit better on their security, and it probably would have been one of my best VPNs back in the day, but I just don't think they really have that in them anymore. All right, next up we have Hide.me. Another funny thing I did want to mention about Windscribe, its community is very polarizing. For example, this April Fool's, they made a post about how the Discord, remember how I gave that analogy about the middle schoolers? Well, it turned out they had like usurped the Discord moderators and took it over. And then Windscribe was like making it so people couldn't post memes anymore or something. And there was like kind of talking about this whole like censorship thing. And then people really did not like all the drama going on, and some people actually canceled their subscriptions because they were so upset about all the drama going on. Just kind of funny little story. Show you kind of the company culture there. They really, really want to be like dbrand, but can't quite manage to do it, in my opinion. Next up, we have Hi.me. Hi.me is another good VPN provider, very solid, A-tier VPN. There's nothing really special about it in terms of, anything really good it does. It's not the most polished thing like Nord. It's not extremely cheap like TorGuard. It doesn't have very cool integrations and bundled packages like Surfshark. It doesn't have Proton's really vast ecosystem of products that are pretty fully developed, but it is pretty good. Its VPN is decent. The application it's okay. They've been kind of iterating and improving it a little bit. My problem with it is my speeds just aren't the best in the world with this VPN provider. I don't know why. I just never get the best speeds with it. It's just kind of, but if you have less than like 300 to 400 megabits per second, you should get fine speeds with it. It works for streaming. It's audited and stuff like that. It's pretty good VPN provider at the end of the day. All right, guys, so that's my VPN tier list for the middle of 2024. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.